Hey guys, so what I just wanted to do today was show you how to region mod your NES console so that you can play the tall grey cartridges from anywhere in the world, be it America, Europe, Eastern Europe. Doesn't matter if you've got a European PAL console, an American NTSC console, you'll be able to play any game so long as it's, again, the tall grey type cartridge. One thing that you can't do is play the Japanese Famicom games, but that's because the edge connector and the cartridge itself is a little bit different from the domestic cartridges that we're used to. So you can actually play them in there, but you'll need a small adapter to be able to do that. And also, some NES systems can't play some of the unlicensed Nintendo games, and with this modification you can play any of them, and all of them, because they all rely on the bypass of that little tiny 10 NES chip, which is the region chip. So keep watching guys, and let's get on with it. Okay guys, so this is the NES mainboard. In fact, this is the underneath of the NES mainboard, and the chip that we're interested in is right here. That is the NES 10 NES chip inside this motherboard here, and the pin that we're interested in is pin 4 on here. Right, so I just wanted to make a note that I'm going to be talking about pin numbers with this, and when it comes to pin numbers, pin 1 is always next to the small circle, and pin 1 on here is up here, so it's this one at the top here on this side. And when you count the pins on an IC like this, pretty much every single IC is the same. You count down one side 1 through 8, and then you flip over to this side and then count 9 through 16 on the other side up the top. So pin 1 and pin 16 are opposite each other, and the pin that we're concerned about is pin 4 just there, and pin, let's have a look here, 13 just on the other side there. Now you're going to need for this a pair of clippers. Help if they're kind of smallish clippers. You're going to need some solder, and you're also going to need a soldering iron. Unfortunately mine's a little bit dodgy, but as is the ghetto nature of my videos. So let's have a look here. Okay, so the pin we're concerned with is right here, and that is pin 4. And what I'm going to try and do is use the clippers to go in there and just snip it as close to the circuit board as I can. It's quite difficult because the pins are quite close together, and these could be a bit smaller, to be honest. Okay, so hopefully you can now see that I have moved the pin away from the PCB. Maybe if I move it at an angle you can see that a little bit better. Yeah, you can see that I've lifted it away from the PCB. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my soldering iron, or soldering iron depending on where you come from, and where's my sponge? Okay, preparation is key here, and I haven't prepared at all, so Alright, so I'm going to take my soldering iron. I'm just going to stick a small amount of solder on the leg there. There we are. And now what you should really do, Tell you what, I'll tin the other side at the same time. There we go. By the way, you don't actually have to connect it to pin 13. You can connect it to pins 12, 13, 14 or 15 because they're all connected to ground. And that's basically the aim of this. We want to connect this pin to ground. Now you could choose another ground on the board, but personally I think it's going to be a much better idea to keep it sort of localized to the chip rather than having wires strewn across the board, because it never looks good and it's, you know, it's bad practice to do it. So but speaking of bad practice, you really should use a piece of wire to do this, but basically I can't find my reels of wire at the moment. I think they're up in the loft somewhere from when I sort of shifted things around recently, but I do happen to have a resistor handy. So what I'm going to do is just solder this half of the resistor to this pin here. Hot. And then bend it over here. And bend it down here as well. Now I know how much I need. I'm just going to snip that piece off. And now I'm just going to solder this to the other side. And I'll probably just stick a bit more on there for luck. Not that I should need to really if I've done this correctly. You'll find that you probably won't need to do that. It's all soldered in okay. And that's really it. That is the entire mod. What you probably want to do at this stage is you'll want to plug the NES back in and make sure that, that obviously the modification works for a start. But I did forget to note one very important thing before I started any of this. When you disconnect your NES from the wall socket or the power adapter, you always want to make sure that you turn the power on, leave it for a second or two, and then turn it off again without anything plugged into it, by the way, because these always have a small amount of charge left in them, because the power supplies on these literally take AC power in, and it's the same with the Super Nintendo and pretty much every console really. If you're going to do any sort of work like this on it, always make sure that you discharge it by turning the power on for a couple of seconds, then turning it off again whilst nothing's plugged into it, and that will save you a lot of trouble down the line. It will save you basically popping the thing when you put your soldering iron to it. So anyway, as I say, it's a really relatively simple mod, and what I'm going to do now is just test it out, make sure that it works. Okay guys, so I hope that was helpful. If you've got any questions, just leave it in the comment section below and I'll do my best to help you out. But yeah, I guess that's about it for this video. One thing I did want to say before I went though was I'm actually looking for broken consoles, games, anything video games related at the moment to repair for videos, because I've almost run out of stuff to repair now, and it seems to be sort of a bit hard to come by anything that's actually broken at the moment. I've gotten quite a few job lots recently of multiple items with the promise that they were untested and most likely don't work, and all of them worked. So I'm looking for anything. I mean, if you've got a console at home that you don't necessarily want to part with but you want repaired, then if you can send it to me, then I will fix it, feature it in a video, mention your name and send it back to you afterwards as well. So if I can't fix it, obviously, you know, that can't be helped, I guess, but chances are I can. If you drop me a PM, then we'll talk about it and work it out. So but that, yeah, that wraps it up for today, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you later.